Hi, I'm Evelyn Linwood. Welcome back to my channel. So when we left off, I had started my Kanban board. Again, I haven't written very much yet. I've moved, I think, 2 sticky notes for Project Gold and then just 1 for Project King. Of course, I have a lot more to do. But I'm starting to feel a little bit the momentum for both projects, so clearly the Kanban was a good idea. Other than that, I was having some timeline trouble with Project Gold because it has a new point of view I'm introducing, and I have Kira and then Ilana. Kira is the protagonist of the first book, Showing Silver, which is the one that's already published. Project Gold, I am introducing a second character, so the timeline issue comes in because obviously I want readers to know that Kira is still a main factor in this book, so I wanted to open with a Kira scene. But then I also want to introduce Ilana as soon as possible. Bear in mind the name could change. I don't see it changing, but I've renamed characters before. But I wanted to introduce the new point of view. So when I'm writing multi-POV, I want it to be as chronological as possible, generally speaking. And my timeline issue was simply that I have basically one scene for the second point of view character that I think will take a couple of weeks. Oops, I bumped the mic, sorry. A couple of weeks, and then I have several scenes from Kira's perspective over that time period. So I didn't want to be jumping around too much. So basically, I figured it out by writing out my timeline. Obviously not detailed. I just did basically how long a scene will take. And then I figured what I will do is do the 2 Kira scenes that take place kind of towards the beginning, and then the longer Ilana scene. And then I will do a Kira scene that overlaps with the end of the extended Ilana scene. If that doesn't make sense, don't worry about it. But just timeline issues are very common while you're writing multi-POV, which I learned through Project King. Project King is actually the first book that I ever fully drafted. You would think it would come out first, but no. Because it's going to start a series of at least 5 books, and it is a little more complex, so I thought that getting the duology out first would be easier and not have to make people wait as long between like the first book and the sequel and having something complete in their hands. So Project King has actually changed a lot since its inception. It's my oldest story idea. I was literally, 8th grade when I first came up with it. But it's completely unrecognizable. Back then it was kind of a girl power story about a princess dealing with her sister's kidnapping, and now it's just completely different. The same characters are in it, by and large, but the story makes a lot more sense, and it's actually it's not a girl power story anymore. It is more of a father-son story. But where was I going with that? Timelines. So originally it had 5 point of view characters. 5. And one of them had a complete story arc. The others did not. One of them just had like a random opening scene and then never was seen from again. So, yeah, I changed it. Now I'm working on the 4th draft. There are 3 point of view characters. The other point of view... there were 6 originally. The other point of view characters are still in the book, but they are not points of view. They are just characters in the book. So the main character, and then there are 2 kind of supporting point of views. I don't like to read equal point of views unless it's romance. But so with my style, it's usually about like one main character, and then the second point of view or the third point of view will have less page time, but a complete character arc. Because for me, when I'm reading, character arc's the main thing, and when I'm writing, that's honestly what I'm most interested in too. Like, I like the world building, I like the character relationships. My favorite thing is watching a character grow. Because usually there is the big problem that they can't solve because of who they are. And then they grow, they overcome their flaws, and suddenly the problem is tackleable. Well, not so suddenly, but I love that general story blueprint. So that's kind of what I write toward. I'm not really one for tragedy. Anyway, so timelines can be really complicated with multiple point of views. That was my whole point. All that. The thing that helped me the most was Save the Cat. There is an amazing chapter in this book about with a multi-point of view example. And she goes, Jessica Brody, goes into like how that was handled in that particular book. And it was just really, really helpful. I think I want to say it was The Help. Does The Help have multi-point of views? Yeah, the example that she gave was The Help. And she went into like how the point of views were woven together. In this case, it was like three beats before they even switched characters. And then all of a sudden it was the catalyst for another character because hers was like the main catalyst, maybe. I don't know. I haven't actually read The Help. I kind of wanted to forget most of that example before I read it. Yeah, but if you want to write multi-POV, I highly recommend this book. Of course, I recommend this book to everyone because it is my absolute favorite. As a semi-pantser, it is difficult to find craft books that are not just out to turn me into a plotter. Save the Cat is very respectful of pantsers. To explain my pantserness, if you have watched Ellen Brock's YouTube channel, she is a novel editor, but she put out a series of videos that was like your writing type, and it was it was one of those 4-way grids, methodological versus intuitive, and then it was pantser versus plotter. So if you've watched those, I consider myself a methodological pantser, and just like getting that specific square helped me a lot with figuring out my writing method and which kind of advice to listen to versus ignore. And she did put out one video for each type to help with like what kind of advice is actually helpful for your type, what kind you should probably be ignoring. On my YouTube, I will link those videos in the description. If you're watching on Rumble, sorry, I don't think I can link across platform. So, but if you're watching on YouTube, absolutely, I will put that in the channel description. Because if you're a writer who's getting bombarded with all of the standard advice, some of which doesn't seem to fit you very well, it's very helpful. What else is going on? Well, I have not made a ton of progress. Otherwise, besides the timeline thing, Canada is a little bit on fire. And I live in Michigan, so we're getting a lot of the smoke. And I have allergies. You could probably hear it in my voice. So I have not been doing a lot of writing. And it is weird because I have been basically sick for 2 weeks, and it's fine because none of it has been, like, dying. But I am tired of being sick with various things. It's actually getting more than 2 weeks now. Regardless, I have a new goal to have 15,000 words written by next Thursday, which is about 1 week from now. Not 15,000 total, 15,000 new words. I write between 800 and 1,200 words an hour. So for me, that is somewhere between 12 and a half hours to like 18.75 hours. Probably closer to the latter. So I will plan to do, as long as I get in like probably 17, 18 hours, I will definitely hit that mark. And that's not that many hours a day. It's a lot a day. But as someone who has successfully done like nano events back in the day, not that long ago, a couple years ago, it's doable, especially if it's just for a week. I need to put in that effort and get some momentum built. I'll probably be largely ignoring Project King for that week, this week, but that's fine because the project that I want to prioritize is definitely Project Gold. I'm sure readers, I have a handful of people being like, when's the sequel coming? Which is really wonderful to hear, but also I need to get it out. Yeah, so that's pretty much what's going on. In a couple weeks, actually, June 21st to 23rd, there is a global challenge called the 24-hour novel. I'll put the hashtag on the screen somewhere. And I will be participating in that. So I'm really looking forward to that. I have a local writing group that is kind of trying to sort of participate. But I think largely it's not, the writers are less experienced, so I don't think that anyone is really going to try and do a full 50,000 words in the 24 hours. Actually, if you're not familiar with that challenge, I should explain what it is. It is, basically a bunch of writers will try and write 50,000 words over the course of 24 hours. Some of them do it in literally one 24-hour period. Some of them break it up into like 3 writing days of 8 hours each. Some do it in 2. Some do it a little less completely organized, like over the course of a weekend. They might just only track writing time. That might be what I do. I am leaning that way because I do love my Forest app. I think I've mentioned it before on this channel. So Forest is a little app on your phone where you grow trees, and if they're 2 hours, this is a bad example. Here's a good example tree. Come on, click. If they are 2 hours, sometimes the tree is a little prettier. Like the same tree, I think the minimum is 25 minutes in order to get a tree. And that's what you can grow in 25 minutes compared to the full tree, which is beautiful. Anyway, I love Forest. I will use different trees to track different things. It'll change month to month. Sometimes I'm not using it. Sometimes I am. But you earn little coins when you plant trees, and then you use the coins to buy new kinds of trees. Which all sounds very silly, but it is motivating. I'm weak to gamification damage. That was the nerdiest thing I've ever said. You can ignore it. Yeah, but Forest is great. I think I paid like $5 for it, but for me it's been worth it. Yeah. So this was a bit rambly, but thank you for watching. I hope to see you in my next video. I will be doing sort of like a writing experiment of some kind. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and want to see more. I'll see you next time.